Good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another stream. Hopefully the week started off okay for you all. Hopefully nothing too crazy is going on. And as we look to get into tonight's games, we're going to have a casual stream. I'm not particularly looking to do anything crazy. All I really want to do is have a little bit of fun and hope we can get our climb on. With that, I'm just going to have some fun messing around with little legends. And then I think we're good to go. As we look to get into our first game of the night, I definitely want to make sure we keep on top of what some of the most powerful comps are. But I do know that I have a couple of preferentials. Even though Draconic Set's the strongest in the game, I do love a good reroll build, and Set is just that. Also, I know Hellions are strong with a Teemo carry. They're not quite the way we used to play Hellions with the hyper-rolling for Ziggs, but it'll still be fun. So we want to start off with the Udyr with the Crit Glove, because that'll give us both options really well. So it's looking really good for us to be able to go Hellions here, as we already have Jeweled Gauntlet, the Ziggs, and 3 Hellions. Again, we'll just have to wait and see what we end up with here. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite fast enough to buy that other brand, but this does leave us in a decent position knowing that we've got some Spellweavers as well as just in general having a pretty solid 3 Hellions start. I'm going to look to put the armor on Kennen here because the ideal items that we're looking for is any kind of a static shiv that we'll put on Ziggs, as well as just a Morellonomicon and a Guardian Angel for Kennen would be perfect. So here it looks like we're going to take a pretty perfect loss, only losing by 1. And also a nice warm welcome to the stream. Not tonight. So we're really happy to find that 2-star Ziggs here, as it'll really get our composition going for much more damage. As well, we're happy to get the Shadow Bow, as all we need now is a tier, and we're feeling really, really good about having a powerful Teemo later in the game. As you can see, even in these early stages, it's working really well just to have Ziggs in the very back corner and just firing away with bombs. For now, we're just happy to hit our 10 gold and keep waiting here. At level 5, if we end up finding Lulu, then we'll put in 5 Hellion, as that will be stronger than the 2 Spellweaver, even though we'll be losing about 40 ability power on Ziggs. It will end up being better just because we're going to go from 5 to 50% more attack speed across all of our units. We're not going to spend too much time rolling at level 5, but I definitely want to make sure that we can get at least 2 stars on those frontline Hellions, so we have a much better chance of survival to afford more Teemos. And thanks Not Tonight. This little legend was my own personal choice, as well as the gold coin. Just makes sense coming out of the gold piggy bank. So ideally what we'd want on this carousel would be the tier. If not that, we'd also be happy with a sword, as there are 2 and it would make Guardian Angel for our Kennen. But it's looking pretty likely that we'll be able to end up with a tier here, which is exactly what we're hoping for. Perfect. So we're actually able to get the Shadow, the Static Stiletto, so Shadow Static Shiv, and it works really well because instead of every 4 attacks, we end up getting every other attack to deal the magic damage and reduce magic resist, letting us deal way more damage with Ziggs and later with Teemo as well. Now all we're really looking for are a couple of good items for Kennen, and from there, probably a defensive item or a bit more attack speed on Ziggs or what will become Teemo, and we're feeling really, really good about our chances this game. So we don't really need to buy the Ziggs here. We definitely can in the event that we end up getting many Ziggs. We're okay with it. But I think for now, our best play is just to end up staying at 20 gold here and hope that we can start to find a couple of pairs for our Hellions as we go through level 5 and look to get our gold up. But as you can see, the damage from Static Shiv is absolutely tearing through the opponent's team. Even though it's only 70 magic damage, it reduces their magic resist by 50%, so Kennen's able to put out more, Poppy's able to do more with their shield throw, and Ziggs' bombs hit so much harder. So not tonight. As usual in the start of stream, I always want to check in. Good day today, hopefully? Oh good, I'm very happy to hear it. Yeah, ended up having a pretty good day. Nothing too crazy going on. Work was work as usual. But more than anything, I was just really looking forward to hanging out tonight, having some fun. Also turns out that, back to the game for a second, we were able to hit Guardian Angel for Kennen, so all we need now is ability power and health, and we feel really good with Kennen's items. The only down or negative part of the day, to be honest, is just that the Leafs are losing right now. And I know it's versus Montreal, but always hope that the Leafs can come out with a win in the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. Fingers and toes crossed here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the BF sword here and hope that I can end up putting it on Ziggs to either make Infinity Edge or ideally a Guardian Angel, with backup options being something like a Gunblade or even a Zeke's. And I think it'll go a lot further than the other item we were offered. Now that we're above 50 gold, we may spend next round rolling a little bit just to make sure that we can try to get 2 stars on things like Kled and Poppy, so that they don't fall too far behind as the game goes on. So we were able to hit quite a few Kled there, and that could be really useful for later if we end up finding 2 more Kleds. If not, then we're happy to just let them sit on our bench for now and we'll look to sell them later. But it'll definitely make him much more defensible for our game plan. Wow, we came out with an extremely close win there. We would have been happy with either a win or a loss, but we'll definitely take the win. As far as items go here, we definitely want an ability power, either Vel'Koz or Katarina. would be what we're aiming to go for here. The fact that we found such a low odds Ivern is really good for us, as we are going to need him later in the composition. Because he's going to be providing us our 2 Revenant with a Volibear frontline, as well as 2 Invoker to let us cast faster with Teemo. But in the meantime, we're not really worried about running him. Instead, what we want to make sure we do is get ourselves back up to 50 gold, and then start looking to level towards 8, now that we found at least 2-star Kennen and Kled. The only reason why I would have stayed a lower level and started to roll was if we had a Spatula and a Shadow Bow to be able to make Hellion Spatula, because 7 Hellions is just like so much attack speed and so much potential damage that it would then be worth it to start looking for a 3-star Ziggs, maybe a 3-star Kled. But as it stands now, we just want to start getting our levels up as high as we can, as fast as we can. So here I think what we should do is give up on the Kled 3 Dream. That way we can ensure that we're over 40 gold, and we also have another Mystic to put in with Lulu at level 7. Wow, so this game's going to get nutty, as we just found 2 spatulas, which means that we can just make a Force of Nature, which lets us have an extra unit in. We could also just wait 1 round, because if we do find the Shadow Bow, then that means we definitely can go 7 Hellions. Or potentially, in what could be one of the best plays, is we could actually switch Kled out with Heimerdinger if we found a Hellion Spatula. So we'll have to see what happens here. Perfect, so we find the belts to give Kennen the more evil Nomicon, and then we start looking to get ourselves leveled as fast as we can. I also think we don't really want to wait, so what I'll do is I'll put the Force of Nature in, and I'll put in Lux for now, but I do know that I want that to be swapped out for Kindred later. As always, you're super quick to point out the health totals, so thanks for that. You gotta love it. I don't even plan for this, I promise. Wow. So we do end up coming out with a win with that, thanks to the top guys doing it backwards. Not for long. So I do think that the right play there is just to level and get the Ivern in, as it will prove to be a bit stronger, a bit more utility for our front line. It also lets us start being able to even find ourselves Teemo, and that would be a pretty big pickup if we do. I don't think we'll actually get any more item components other than what we're going to get here on the carousel. So we're just going to have to wait for now and see what we end up getting in terms of an item component. What I'm actually going to do here is just grab the health in hopes that we can turn it into something like a Warmog to give Cannon as much survivability as possible. Again, I don't think we'll end up getting another item component. I think it'll just be money. But even still, just throwing the spare health on Cannon will be pretty good for us here. And from here, all we're really looking to do is get to level 8, as once we take out Ziggs for Teemo, we don't actually need Brand in the composition at all. And at level 8, we'll have the 5% chance, which we really want to find Kindred and Volibear. Considering we do have an extra unit slot though, what I will do is I'll put in Heimerdinger if I find him, because that'll give us a pretty good option. Oh boy. So as we can see, our opponents got our same build. Unfortunately, they found the Teemo at level 7, as you can see. So they're a little bit powerful, especially compared to us for now. But once we end up finding a Teemo of our own, we should be pretty good. We're not going to look to go 3-star Lulu. We have too many 5 costs we need to find. Oh no. Looks like there are 2 Kayle players, and without having a Teemo for ourselves, we're in a bit of trouble being able to slow down that attack speed enough. And considering Ziggs is still stuck on the front line here, we may be out of time as Kayle's about to ascend, and when she does, this round's over for us. Yeah, if we even had the 1-star Teemo there, I think we would have had enough damage with the shrooms that we would have been able to kill Kayle, but that's something we'll have to see for later. After this, what we're going to do is we're going to level to 8, and we're going to roll all of our gold, especially considering that this player has rolled all of their money at level 7, and we'll have the option for 9 units, so we need to try to get ourselves as strong a board as possible, especially considering this person's going for 3-star Riven and 3-star Yasuo, and they'll probably hit it. So it ends up working out that we get a 3-star Ziggs, as that should help us a bit for damage in the meantime. But realistically speaking, it's not looking very good for us, because we rolled down all of our gold and we didn't end up finding Volibear, we didn't end up finding Teemo. But it's looking like we should come out with a win here, which should buy us some much needed health. Fingers crossed though, because I do know Varus can do some crazy things. Perfect. So for now, the reason why we just put Lux in is because she's a spare Mystic. It'll give us the extra 60 magic resistance, and she'll work out pretty well in terms of just assassin fodder and buying our team time for Ziggs to get his auto attacks and bombs off. We're also happy to see that the other player that went Teemo has been knocked out, so we should have a lot easier time being uncontested on trying to find our Teemo that we need. Perfect. The other thing that I'm really happy about is that we just have a Nikos that will save us 6 health in trying to find a 2-star Teemo. And Teemo is the reason why I'm just rolling down every turn. Because if I do end up finding the Teemo, it will just be better than the Ziggs, even though Ziggs is 3-star. Because Teemo is going to be able to hit a large group of enemies with the 6 mushrooms. Well, it's a good thing we just versed him before he power spiked, so we're feeling pretty good. Unfortunately, as it stands for now, we are still bottom of the lobby, so we're going to need to do something to be able to come out with a win here. I'm not sure if we should be saving our gold, but until we at least find Teemo, I don't think we should, because we're also missing things like Volibear and Kindred. So I believe that rolling at level 8 is good enough. I just think maybe we should stay above 5 gold for whatever we find. Let's see what we get here. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Kindred, not because we need the Coven emblem, but because there wasn't too much else that would have been great for us to grab, and we can end up just looking for a 2-star Kindred a little bit easier. So we do find the Volibear. I believe that Volibear is going to be stronger. Yeah, I believe Volibear with the 2 Revenant will just be stronger than the 3 Mystic that we had. If we were at any lower health, I would just use the Nikos on the Kindred, just to be able to get a 2-star. But since we're looking for Teemo, and we want to try to get a 2-star Teemo, we need to just keep holding out for it. But as you can see in the background, Ziggs is just putting out thousands of damage at a time. And not tonight. I hope this is scratching that itch for Hellions that you were hoping for the last couple of weeks. I'm glad to hear it. Even though we said we weren't looking to re-roll for the Hellions, we still ended up with the Ziggs. But I think Ziggs' time is up. Because we found ourselves a 2-star Teemo.
I believe in the future of dragonkind.
now that we have the Teemo, we don't need the brand. So we're just happy to throw in Heimerdinger, as he'll just give us Renewer, giving us a little bit of regen. And you can see right away, 2-star Teemo has already done double the damage of Ziggs from last round, and that was with less casts. Just because of the fact that he is so strong as a 5 cost. Now the fact that we were able to save ourselves 6 health could make the difference here, as that may let us have one hard loss that we would not have normally had, because we would only be at 24. Also, I think what we may end up doing from here, since we should look to get to 20 gold. Oh, sorry, I must have mixed my words there. Since we've looked to get to 20 gold here, what I think we might actually do is just start preparing ourselves to go for level 9. Because at level 9, we'll have a much higher chance of finding our 5 costs. And we've already stabilized. Now, I'm not exactly sure what we'd put in at level 9. Is my only concern, I would say, for going for level 9 in the first place. But, I mean, we could probably just throw in anything. We could throw in Garen as a 5-cost frontline knight that will give an extra shield and shred magic resist anyway. So I'm not super worried about it. But if we do take a loss, I think that changes things, and I think what we'll have to do is instead just start rolling down our money to see if we can 2-star any 5 costs here at level 8. How it's looking currently though, I think we should be fine. Yeah, just the power of having the Heimerdinger in with the Force of Nature is just so strong, and has bought us so much time and so much health. Like, if we can make it to Carousel without losing, we'll be able to just go to level 9, and suddenly we're feeling super strong. The only thing that might give us some trouble here is this Vel'Koz. I don't think we versed them in a hot minute, but it looks like they transitioned out of having a 3-star Gragas, unless I've looked at the wrong team. So we're kind of happy about that. Also, we need to try to hope that Teemo will end up targeting the Kayle in the back, because otherwise, we're going to have a really hard time winning this round. Yeah, as you can see, we barely didn't have enough power there with the 1-starred 5 costs that we have, and we need 64 to level, so we need to be able to make it past this next round. I am worried about the Vel'Koz player. I'm not super worried about this player, even though they have 2 3-star 3 costs. Just because we have an extreme amount of attack speed slow with Teemo. But we'll have to see what happens here. Thankfully, we do get placed against a Ghost, so it's very likely we'll end up top 4, and considering it's the first time I'm running this Teemo composition, I am really happy just with how this is going. Also, Teemo was able to get his ult off 3 times, and I think that'll give us enough time to be able to close out this round. And with that, we have a top 4, potentially a top 3. Look at that. Right up to a top 3. Love to see it. Also, there's another Kindred. Now, at this point, I think we just take it, as that's going to give us a 2-star Kindred with hilarious amounts of spatula items Nothing really useful for her, but I mean, hey, free 2-starred 5 cost. So now that we're level 9, what we'll do is we'll just throw in Gragas. Not that he's particularly great for us, but he does make our volley bear just a little bit tankier. And we love to see it. However we end up placing in this game, we're happy with our result here. Realistically, I do think we'll get knocked out this round, but we'll have to see. The attack speed slow on the Teemo shrooms is actually quite a big problem for our opponent here. And it also looks like the opposing Vel'Koz player wasn't able to handle our Ghost either, so we may have a shot at winning this game. And also now that we found the Garen, we're feeling pretty confident about keeping our units alive. Considering there are no assassin players, we can stack our front line something like this, knowing that Kindred at 2 stars should keep our units alive pretty well in the back line, and we end up having a nice spread of Ivern in the corner, Teemo in this corner, Lulu to keep them safe, and the Heimerdinger to be able to put out consistent burn after Kennen gets knocked out. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, the Infinity Edge plus the Jeweled Gauntlet on the Teemo has been putting in disgustingly high amounts of work for us here. And we end up with a first place finish. Look at that. Not tonight, Hellions was the right play. Great call. What can I say? Hellions works. Alright, off of that game, I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break. Maybe you can get up, get a stretch, have a quick snack, and I'll see you back here in a minute. And we're back. Hope you were able to get up, get a stretch. And we're looking into the next game. That was crazy, the power that we had finding 2 quick Teemos to transition off of the 3-star Ziggs. Wow. Gotta say, I'm much less worried about just pushing for Hellions now. But I do think a big part of the reason why we were able to play that so aggressively and look for level 9 was because we had the Force of Nature. If we wouldn't have gotten the double spatula drop, I believe it was on Wolves, we would have had a very different game on our hands, in that we wouldn't have been able to get the early Heimerdinger, which means we wouldn't have been able to be winning those rounds with extra units, and we would not have been able to throw in Garen at the end as an additional frontliner. Not that I think he made a ton of difference, but I do think that the 15% odds would have been more useful for us to find our 5 costs if, well, I mean, if our opponents would have lived a little bit longer. As it is a casual stream tonight, I'm a little bit more BM than usual, but that's just because I'm having some fun with myself. That Hellions game was not the norm. Well, I grabbed the Kled with the crit glove. Maybe we run it back, who knows? That was super fun. So, if we hit it, great. If not, crit glove's just so useful for Infinity Edge for a bunch of the big carries, as well as potentially even something like a Quicksilver. Or the Jeweled Gauntlet for magic damage carries. Just so I don't shut out all my options, I'm also going to buy the Warwick here, because it's possible we could look for making this a set game, depending on what we find. I don't love leaving the crit glove on our Kled here, but I do think that it'll be fine, because if we end up getting the items we need for Ziggs, aka Teemo, then what we can do is we can probably just put a Thieves' Gloves on Kled and feel happy about it. Now, unfortunately, we don't have ourselves a 3 Hellion start, so we're feeling a little bit weaker than normal. So what I'm going to do is just put 2 Brawlers in the front line and hope they can buy us some time here. But considering we've already found all of our Kleds and a couple of Ziggs, if we end up finding a Poppy or a Kennen, we could just look to go Hellions again, as long as we can find an ability power and potentially a bow. The fact that we're finding so many swords really does make me think that we could go set this game, but because we don't have a Zyra or an Ashe, we can't really play the Draconic with Brawlers just yet. But we do have the Gragas, so we could look to go it if we end up finding that last Draconic that we'd need. Just keeping our options open, but split between those two. If we are going to go for set, we're in a pretty good position here. We would just want to grab magic resistance so we can make a Bloodthirster for set. If we're going to stick to something like the Hellion game plan, then we definitely want to look for ability power, followed by something like a tear or a bow. Once again, a little unfortunate that we haven't hit any other Draconic or any other Hellion unit. We'll have to see what the rest of the board is playing here. This person's looking to already start with potentially some Kale items. I'm not 100% sure. Could be Jax with Skirmishers. This person's just playing Varus, but they may end up going for Hellions as they did start with the Jeweled Gauntlet. The person we're versing here is playing 3 Redeemed, but they look like they're going to go Kale. Just Ginsu's with the defensive front line. We'll have to see. That's just what my gut feeling says. Either Kale or Varus, depending on what they end up finding. So going into Carousel, we want magic resistance. That Shadow Spatula could also be hilarious. It'll probably be gone right away though, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright. We'll take the Shadow Spatula because if we find a bow, that means we can play Hellions. And we could potentially go 7 Hellions, which could be pretty spicy. Yeah, the fact that we didn't hit any Draconic there, but we hit 2 Hellions, made me feel confident that I could just slam the Hellions here. So all we really need is a bow. As far as who would end up getting the Hellion Spatula for our composition, I think it would end up being Ivern. Either that or Volibear. I think Volibear makes the most sense. Yeah, unfortunately we took a loss there, so we have to sell our spare Kled. Not the end of the world, because we already have a Kled finished. But we're really hoping we find a bow, because if not, the other item we could make if we find a spatula is the Force of Darkness. It is the riskiest item in the game, because you get +2 team size immediately, but you take double damage after a loss, which means instead of the potential, 12 losses you can get throughout a game, you get 6. It's a very first or 8th play. I'm willing to try it, don't get me wrong, but I do think in order for me to feel more confident on it, we're going to need to find at least an ability power. Hopefully a bow, and a tear. I mean, we just want those 2 key items on Ziggs/Teemo, right? If we do end up going for 7 Hellions, what we can do is we can just keep the Ziggs with this single item. I think Lissandra will be stronger than just throwing in a single Kled, so I'll put it like this for now. Oh no. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. You heard the concern in my voice. If that was a spatula, I was gonna dare myself to just play the game out with the Force of Darkness there. I don't actually think we want the karma, even though it's a 2% karma, just because we're still too far away from really much of anything. And we won't be using Invokers until Ivern and then Teemo, so we'll only need 2. We're not super worried about the 3 mana that's generated from her kit either. But I can buy it just because we're not going to break 50 gold anyway, unless we wanted to sell both the Kleds. And the main reason why I'm trying to collect these 3 Kleds is so I can get the crit glove off of the one that I already have. This is going to be one of the harder losses that we've taken on the night, just in general, and that's okay.
Ready, hammer?
Perfect, so now we're just missing a couple of ability powers. Considering we found many of the units that we'd need, we're just going to start looking to slowly level here. Because we don't really have anything great to put in at level 6. Normally we'd love to throw in Lulu, but since we don't have her, our Hellions are feeling really, really weak at the moment. Since the attack speed boost we're getting is only 5%, not the 50% that we'd like. We may need to do a little bit of rolling at level 6 here just to try to find a Lulu to try to stabilize. Perfect. So after a few more rolls than we would have liked, we do end up finding the Lulu to keep us in a decent spot here in this game. We also ended up just finding a 3-star Kled. Now, I don't know what that's going to do for us in terms of the game state, but I do think that it's hilarious. And if we get a bow on the carousel, which is what we'll be aiming for, then we're feeling pretty good about going 7 Hellions here. Because with a 3-star Kled, what we could do is we could potentially just go 7 Hellions and throw in Cavaliers. I mean, I don't think that's the strongest play. I do think the strongest play is still to work around Teemo, and you'd throw in Ivern and Volibear, but we'll have to see. Our first priority, however, is going to be the regular or Shadow Bow, if not an ability power. So we'll grab the regular bow since we have the Shadow Spatula. This game's gonna get crazy. Here we go towards 7 Hellions. I personally love the way that as soon as you get a Hellion spat, the unit shrinks in size. I don't know, I just find that really funny. So from here, we're just hoping to preserve as much health as possible. Unfortunately, it looks like we'll be taking a couple of close losses, but we'll have to see. Perfect. So saving this health is crucial because we, from here, are just looking to get ready for leveling and then trying to find a Teemo at level 8 or if we're lucky, level 7. So on stage 4-1, regardless of how much gold we have, we will be leveling to 7. In terms of what unit we'd want to put in, ideally we'd want to find something like a Rel or maybe some kind of a Mystic to throw in. Just because Cavalier for Kled will make him much more durable. And since it's a buffed 2-3-4 trait, we could potentially run up to 3 of those if we find that we need Kled for the high amounts of physical damage that he can provide with Infinity Edge. Realistically, as we saw there, he gets crowd controlled really hard, so we're much better off getting just a strong front line and Teemo being our backline carry. So I'm really happy that I found an extra Ziggs there, not because I'm looking for Ziggs 3, although that is an option since we're going to be going 7 Hellions, but mostly because I can get rid of this Ziggs to put the crit glove on Teemo if we're able to find a couple of ability powers. Now why do I say a couple, you might ask? Well, we need an ability power on Kennen and we need an ability power on Teemo. So for now, we're just going to preserve our gold and see what we end up finding. Because if we're able to get a tier or shadow tier, either of those will be really, really powerful for us. We got lucky that our opponent just surrendered as they versed us because they were so far behind. And it gave us a free win, which we need that health preservation to try to have a better chance at Teemo. Thankfully though, we have a double Nico's help, so the second we find Teemo, we can make him 2 stars. We also do end up with the shadow tier that we wanted, so we have the static stiletto. I don't think that Brand will be staying in, so I'll throw the static stiletto on him for now, as he's still a Hellion and he'll still have much higher attack speed. Going into the carousel though, we need an ability power, because if we don't get the Morellonomicon on Kennen, we won't be able to just chip our opponents down and it'll put us in a really bad position. But as you can see, that static stiletto is putting a ton of work out with Brand on the board. Now that we're at 50 gold, we're ready to start slow leveling towards 8, knowing that all we would really want from level 7 is one more Kennen, and once we get to level 8, we have a much better chance of finding Teemo. Since we're sitting at a little bit lower health in the previous game, we do have to be careful, but All we really want is ability power, because we could give Teemo the 2 items he needs and just make Kennen into a frontline tank with Warmogs if we have to. Unfortunately, there is no ability power on the carousel here, but what there is a Volibear. So we could look to grab that if we're able to. Unfortunately, it's looking like we're not. So what we may end up doing here is just grabbing another Shadow Tier, because that could prove to give us the Chalice of Malice and can help buff up our Teemo and our Ziggs. Or potentially buff up our other main carries. So unfortunately there, we're not able to find ourselves any 5 costs to power up our composition. What I will do is I'll make the Sacrificial Redemption, as that can potentially keep our team alive much longer. And as you can see, the extra time that it's buying us is pretty good. Yeah, unfortunately, we have pretty much everything just ready for Teemo, but he's not coming home just yet. He's playing a little hard to get. So here we're able to take the round and just save our gold, get above 10, hopefully, or hope that the Raptors drop 1 or 2 ability power. Since we're not going to get any more item components, I figure I just make the items that we have, and we'll go from there. And unfortunately, because we're not hitting Teemo, we're very quickly running out of time. Even with trying our best here to hit the Teemo and using all of our gold to roll here, we may end up at too low a life total if we end up losing this round. We'll have to see. The round isn't over yet. We still have a chance. But it's looking quite likely that we'll come out with a loss here. Just because that Draven is stacking up and there's really no stopping him. Wow. We get incredibly lucky with the Ivern knockup, buying us time, keeping us alive, and putting us to top 5. So really unfortunate here that we haven't been able to find Kindred, haven't been able to find Teemo. I mean, I think he's hiding because he knows that we have 2 Nikos just ready for him to save us 12 health. Like, realistically speaking, that's about half our health at this point. And we're reaching the point of mild desperation that if there's a Teemo on the carousel, we don't care what item he has, we're just gonna have to go for it. And unfortunately, the opponent at 1 was able to beat us and get us down to 12, but the person in 5th was knocked out. So we're feeling decent that we made it to top 4. Since I wasn't able to grab any real ability power items, I say real ability power items because Ginsu's is technically ability power, but we have so much attack speed already that we don't need it. I just grabbed another chalice here. So that'll be a bit stronger for us now as we have 2 Revenant to get those revives in. We don't need the Spellweaver as it wasn't doing much for us. Considering we're already top 4, it's looking like we'll probably get knocked out this round just because we don't have Teemo and reversed the person at the magic number of health with a 3-star triple carry item Soraka. So we'll have to see what happens here, but very likely that we're just going to end up getting knocked out. And we're okay with a potential 4th to 3rd place finish. Because, you know, last game still felt good, and we gave it our best and still couldn't find Teemo, no matter how much we tried. Yeah, with exact knockout, and unfortunately our opponent stabilizing at 1, we end up with a 4th place finish. Realistically speaking though, it worked out fine for us that we got knocked out there because the loss that we would have had would have made it so we would have just not been able to get Teemo anyway because we would have been below 6 health. And without finding him on any of the carousels, yeah, realistically, going for a 2-star Volibear there would have been the play. Like, you're right, and I agree that going for 2-star Volibear would have been correct. No, I understood what you meant, not to worry. And I know that would have been the correct play, but I didn't think, even with 2-star Volibear, that we would have been able to beat either of those top 2 teams, and we had just versed the player at 1. So without the Hail Mary of finding Teemo on those rolls, I thought we would be in such a rough position that we wouldn't have been able to close out the game anyway. Right? Just because we'd still be sitting at 6 Hellions, and we were not strong enough. With that, I feel confident on just getting into our 3rd and final game of the night. So here we go. And as we look to get into game here, we're still happy with playing Hellions, realistically speaking. I enjoy it. I enjoyed being able to play it and going for those rolls. Unfortunate that even with the Hellion spat, we weren't able to find a Teemo where, statistically speaking, we should have seen at least one because no one else was playing it, and we had the 5% odds. We actually saw pretty few amounts of 5 costs, all things considered. But with that being said, we're still happy with how last game turned out and very happy with how the first game of the evening went for us. I was gonna go for the Kled, but then I realized that there was still a Poppy with a Crit Glove, and I strongly believe that Crit Glove is the strongest starting item in the game, considering any carry with a Crit Glove with ability power or the sword that they need ends up working really, really well. And also the fact that it's on a Poppy just gives us a better chance to find some Hellions. However, finding Morgana and Nocturne and Kha'Zix in the shop makes me feel really, really good about just running Coven Assassins. So I'm sorry in advance because I know Hellions are the jam, but especially with a Crit Glove start, that can be turned into Infinity Edge, and with Assassins, that's guaranteed crits. So, realistically speaking, it would be dumb of me not to at least try to go for them. Especially considering we haven't seen any other Hellions. It just makes sense to me that we would just go for the, go for our Covens. So we're not quite at the decision point of what we need to go, but we have a 2-star Kha'Zix. But I'm gonna put the Crit Glove on. We also could just buy the 3 Hellions, but I'm worried that if I just buy the 3 Hellions, that's going to really start making us concerned on which composition we're gonna go. And I think we have a strong enough start with Assassins that we're fine. Again, all we're missing is Leblanc, and we actually have Coven and Assassin already online. And we've got 2 3-cost units this early in the game. it just makes sense that we would want to be running these, as they should give us some free wins along with the 2-star Kazakhs. As far as what we're looking for items on Armory, we want tier, regular and shadow. We want swords. Alright, so we get our pick of the lot. I personally think getting the shadow tier is stronger because it's unlikely to find another shadow tier on a carousel or something where regular tiers could be more abundant. It's just unfortunate that we had to also decide between a sword, knowing that Infinity Edge is an extremely strong item at all levels of the game for us, because any of our assassins instantly become much scarier because their spells can crit naturally and they're guaranteed to with that Infinity Edge. I do think, however, that I want to go for our Coven assassins, so I'm going to sell the spare units on our bench to start making economy. Now, seeing as our opponent has already leveled to 5, we're definitely not expecting to win this. Just calling that out. Like, the level to 5 really just makes it so we should flat out lose, as we do. But we're not really bothered because we're already above 10 gold. And we're making our way towards 20, knowing that we have a pretty good start and items to go with it. On the carousel, I do think the most important item we can grab is a sword if we're low health, a tier if we're higher. Because I know that it'll get harder and harder to find those items as we go on. Where for now, we have a pretty good chance of picking them up, and they'll be really useful for us here. Where the tier will make a shadow blue buff, and the sword would again make Infinity Edge. Perfect. So we actually end up bottom of the barrel. Not the best, of course, as we would want to have a higher health total, but we're able to look for items that we would really want. I'm going to grab the sword here on the Sejuani just because I think swords will be tougher to come by later. Realistically speaking, we're going to need another one if we want an Infinity Edge, and tiers aren't super sought after in the meta, especially as you can see here. I do wish we had a Leblanc here, as that would free up some of our concerns. But considering we don't, we're still happy enough with what we do have. Even though we see that Kazakhs isn't strong enough to win a round for us here. I am really concerned that we didn't hit a single LeBlanc there, considering that we spent like 25 gold and increased the odds of finding a 2 cost. We did find the 2-star Morgana, which is great for us, but the fact that we didn't end up finding that at all puts us in a really rough spot. We will be looking to stay at level 6 for a while, as once we find Leblanc, we'll want to find Leblanc and Katarina and then roll for Leblancs. Alright, now that we found LeBlanc, we're feeling a fair bit more comfortable, and we'll just wait as we level to level 6 after we get enough gold. Since we've done a bit of rolling, we're behind on our gold here, so we will have to just give it a minute. And by give it a minute, I mean a few rounds, probably till after Carousel, before we even look to go to level 6, where normally we would have hit level 6 after Carousel and then level 7 by 4-1. We're going to be playing it a little bit slower because we used our gold a bit too aggressively to try to find what's turned out to be strong, but not necessarily the best line of play for us here. We find a 2% rel, and I'm actually going to put that in just because 2% on a 4 cost is going to be a lot stronger for us than just playing a 3rd assassin when we already have the trait between Nocturne and LeBlanc. And since Rel's such a durable frontline unit, she should be fine for us for now. Once again, going into Carousel, the number 1 item we're looking for is a tier. Unfortunately, that Varus's items were just too strong for us right now. But we'll get some more gold, do some rolling at level 6, and hopefully turn out okay. Because level 6, we will be reasonably power spiking, being able to have 4 Assassin as well as the 2 Coven to really give LeBlanc some power. I do have to say, the more I'm playing the set, the more pleased I am that they did end up doing the shadow items. Just because they really change the way you play. Give you a lot more options and flexibility. Alright, so going into Carousel, we're looking for a tier. If there are no tiers, we're looking for health or a sword. Looks like there is a tier. Unfortunately, it is moving away from us. But thankfully, we were able to cut through the middle and grab it. And the shadow, or very dark blue buff on Leblanc, even though it's weaker than it used to be since she no longer fully refills her mana, she should still be quite a strong carry, getting almost all the mana except for a single auto attack to instant cast once she drops below 60% health. Perfect. From here, we're just going to get ourselves up to 50 gold, and then at level 6, we'll be slow rolling for Leblanc, finding ourselves a Katarina, one more Kha'Zix, or ideally Diana if we find her, and another Nocturne. Seeing that there are so many set players, it is good that we have such a split composition in terms of assassins being able to go to multiple parts of the map. But we are going to have a bit of a problem depending how our opponents keep their compositions throughout the game here. We're not really looking to get Lissandra to 3 stars, so I don't think I'll buy this unless we win, which is unlikely. But now that we're on a loss streak, we may end up starting to accrue a bit extra gold, even though it's a very dangerous way to play the game. We'll be at least a level behind other players, so without the 4 assassin trait, we'll fall behind very quickly. As that 4 assassin trait is what's really going to give Leblanc the extra power she needs for her spell. Yeah, and as you can see, a 1-star Leblanc is not nearly enough to be able to survive or deal enough damage to defeat backline carries here. This may end up being an 8th place game for the night, but we'll have to see. Since we have some spare ability power, we're fine to just throw the Ginsus onto Nocturne. Ideally, what we would want to do is we just want to find a sword for LeBlanc, so she can get a Guardian Angel and lose some aggro on herself when she gets focused down, and also ensures that the chains will cast more consistently. We're at such low health, though, that we don't have a ton of time to find these 2 stars, at least for Leblanc Kha'Zix. Alright, we were able to find 2 stars on Katarina, Kha'Zix, LeBlanc herself, as well as being able to get a Guardian Angel. Let's see if this is enough. Looks like it's definitely not, and we will be finding ourselves very close to that 8th place finish that we were afraid of. Well, we got super lucky on our last ditch roll down, and we ended up finding a 3-star Leblanc. If that's not enough for us to be able to pull out a couple of these fights and survive to level 7, I'm not sure what will be. So what we're gonna have to do here is I grabbed the sword on Jax, not just because he was one of the highest cost units available, but mostly because he's going to let our Nocturne be able to get an Infinity Edge and potentially turn him into a secondary carry for us, which, considering we're only missing 3 Nocturnes, is not the worst idea, because we're gonna be rounding out the comp with Revenants if we're able to make it to higher levels. So even though it's a casual stream, we're kind of fighting for our lives here. We'll have to see what we do in this game. And if we're able to hold out with 3-star to Leblanc. Looks like for now we're holding on. I don't even think we can buy these Morganas because all we need to do is start saving up enough money to get to level 7 and look to find Ivern. Because if we find Ivern, we find Revenant, and if we find Revenant, Nocturne gets a Guardian Angel. Considering Nocturne's our other big out for getting a 3-star carry, we have to buy this Nocturne and hope we get a little bit of gold off these Raptors. Considering we already have 13 item components, I do believe we should get at least 2 gold here, so we're fine. Wow, color me surprised that we don't end up getting any gold there. We end up finding Diana to give us a stronger assassin than Kha'Zix, and we also end up finding Ryze to give us an additional Mystic unit. I'm not actually sure if this will be enough, but we have to hope. Well, I think it definitely proved to be enough as we won with all of our units still alive. I know we've passed up enough Morgana that we could probably have gotten a 3-star by now. Yeah, we could have exactly gotten a 3-star as there were 6 Morganas. But if we would not have given up on those Morganas, we wouldn't have found the Diana, we wouldn't have found the Ryze, and we also wouldn't have been able to get to level 7. So I do think that sticking to our guns and not quite going for Morgana is the right play here. Unfortunately, we're up against the player that we had the toughest time with last time, so we'll have to see if we have enough to survive him. It's not looking very good for us, though. Yep, and unfortunately, we were just not able to hold on, and we end off in 6th place. With the, honestly and truthfully, biggest difficulty that we had across any opponent, as we would have been able to stabilize and stay alive against anyone else. With that, we end up taking a bit of a loss on the night, a bit of a loss in the game, but an overall positive swing on the night, as we did end up with a 1st and a 4th place. Considering that we still have 20 minutes, I'm going to do something that I haven't normally done on the stream. I'm going to play a Hyperroll game. Now, the reason why I want to play a Hyperroll here is just because there's a quest that wants you to have Diana and Leona on the same board, and it'll award you with rainbows, rainbow fireworks. Now, I don't care if I go 8th place in this game, I just need a Leona and a Diana. So with that, and with 20 minutes left for the stream, let's play our first on-stream Hyperroll. No, this isn't Christmassy music. This is Final Fantasy VII remixes. You might be thinking of the bells in more of a Christmas theme, but it's really not. That's okay. I mean, if you'd like, I can jump it forward to show you a different, and probably one of my favorite tunes in it, if I can find it.
Ontario COVID-19.
Give it 1 second. I don't know why there's an ad playing, so I had to cut that off, but with Leona. Here we go. Considering we know we want to play Leona and Diana, I have no idea what composition we're going to end up going for here. It'll probably just end up being knights plus assassins, I guess? I think just our sheer tankiness on this Leona is giving us some easy wins here, which we're always happy to take. So not tonight. Knowing what you know, what do you think would be a way to make Leona and Diana work together in the same composition? Maybe use knights as a front line and assassins as a back line was what I was thinking. But I know that's definitely not going to be very strong. That is so sad. We found 0 other knights. We could have at least found a Poppy. Hellions. That's really funny. Unfortunately, there's no assassin Hellion. Otherwise, I'd say like, yeah, maybe I'll try it. But just because there isn't even that, I don't really feel like that's the best thing that we could go for here. It's also really funny that you do get gold for losing in this mode, even though you don't get gold for winning.
Ready, hammer?
Alright. Now that we found ourselves 4 knight, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 4 knight. I'm going to get Katarina as a forgotten assassin, Diana for yet another assassin plus Nightbringer, Darius as a frontline to replace Poppy. So I'll have 4 knights, 3 forgotten with Viego, and then I can go 4 assassin. And I think that's what I'm going to try. I doubt it'll be very good, and I hope I live long enough to at least get myself a Diana, but we'll have to see. Wow, that's a lot of gold. Gotta say, I'm really not sure what would be a good backliner with this right now. I mean, I guess we'll just keep going because we'll want to put assassins in eventually. And we know this game's not gonna wait. So we'll roll all of our gold, probably if we survive through to level 8. Oh boy, a spatula. We got lucky. We found a Diana. Look at that. And now we watch our beautiful ship slowly crash and burn. Perfect. So I think all I'm gonna do from here is I'm just gonna look to go 6 assassins and just have some fun with it. Because that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that I'm gonna lose, and that's okay. But no matter what, I'm gonna hit level 8, and once I do, I can just look to take out one of my other knights to put in the last assassin. And we'll have 6 assassins, and that'll have to be good enough. I don't really know what our opponent's doing with saving all those items, but as we can see, it didn't help them. Hilariously enough, we've actually managed to make top 5. Oh well. I'm pretty sure that everything we have won't really be enough, but that's alright. Wow. Alright, look at that. Top 4. Woo! As you can tell, I had absolutely zero faith in that working. But it did. And here we are. I still think we're going to get knocked out next round, but it's been a heck of a run. And we made top 4 with a composition that runs Diana and Leona. Would you look at that? Yeah, considering we're matched up against the other assassin player, but they have perfect items on their Katarina, I really think we just lose. And that's alright. We'll definitely take a 3rd place finish, considering what a hodgepodge of a composition that was. And now we're just gonna hope that our third place comes through here soon, and we'll get our boom of the fireworks that we can start using as early as tomorrow. With that, I want to say thank you for coming to the stream. I hope you had a good time. And with a hilarious last game, we're able to end off the night slightly higher than we were before in terms of our rank, and still feeling happy and great about the new set. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.